One of the most controversial topics in Canada today is euthanasia. This is the practice of assisted suicide for patients who suffer from a chronic or terminal physical illness. However, the topic of euthanasia, or MAID, medical assistance in dying as it's referred to in Canada, has increasingly become more controversial since it was made legal in 2016. Many believe that MAID should not only be legal, but that it should also be extended to those suffering from severe mental illnesses. They argue that it will help patients reconsider their options for treatment, and that denying MAID to those with mental illness is discriminatory. Those against the idea argue that extending MAID will allow vulnerable people who face societal issues an easy way to escape their troubles, and that providing euthanasia goes against physicians' roles of helping patients. Today I'll be interviewing two people to see what their views on the idea of expanding MAID are. I will first be interviewing my friend Adrielle, who attends Binghamton University and is majoring in psychology, and then I will be interviewing my friend Chloe, who attends the University of Wisconsin-Madison and is currently undecided.
I feel like this also, I feel like it kind of parallels like abortion rights because like in my opinion, like everyone has like an autonomous right to control their body. So, similarly to like getting an abortion, like assisted suicide, I think it should be allowed because if that's the decision that the person is going to make, they should be able to make it for themselves because it's their body.
Okay, so you think that they should expand the law?
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to present two counter arguments for your belief to see if that will possibly change your mind. So, while you think that it should be expanded, others think it shouldn't. From one article that I read, Dr. Um, Simpson, a professor of forensic psychiatry at the University of Toronto, thinks that expanding MAID not only goes against physicians' roles of helping people, but also allows those struggling with societal issues to escape their problems through euthanasia. He states in his article that expecting healthcare professionals to assist in the death of someone suffering solely from mental illness adds a fundamental difference and conflicting mission to that commitment. He also argued that expanding MAID will allow those struggling with societal issues like poverty to escape their problems through euthanasia. He believes that those facing societal issues like poverty and unavailable housing lead many to devalue their lives and view their life as one not worth living. Along with him, Dr. Madeline Lee of Princess Margaret Hospital in Toronto is also against the idea of expanding euthanasia, as she not only agrees that it's too accessible to those, or it will allow those facing societal issues to receive it, but she also thinks that it lacks safeguards and will let society off the hook and is not specific enough to protect people. She states that the lack of guards for receiving euthanasia will allow vulnerable individuals, many of whom may be facing societal issues, to access euthanasia and end their life despite not having a severe or detrimental mental illness. So,
Um,
thoughts on that? Has it
okay.
changed your opinion?
Um, I feel like no, because um, I don't know. I feel like if an illness is like that debilitating, like still, no matter the societal factor, it should like people should be allowed to access it because I feel like prolonging the illness is just gonna make their situation worse and worse.
So now I'm going to be interviewing my other friend Chloe and see what her view is on expanding aid. So, after explaining what it is, do you think it should or should not be extended to those with mental illnesses?
I do not think this should be extended to those with mental illnesses because, in my opinion, there are so many different options than euthanasia. There's so many different treatments, and I think as healthcare like provide well like those helping others with mental illnesses, we should be offering different support systems and different outlets instead of just resorting to assisting them with suicide.
Okay. So, you do not think that it should be expanded.
Yes.
So, I'm gonna give you two counter arguments that I've found and see if that maybe changes your mind and what you have to say on them. So, one BBC article that I found discussed a young man named Adam Meyer Clayton's struggle with mental illness and his fight for expanding MAID to euthanasia to those with mental illnesses. He suffered from many psychiatric illnesses such as depression, OCD, and somatic symptom disorder, which is a psychiatric illness which made his body feel as if it was being burned with acid. Around the time of that diagnosis, Canada had recently just legalized euthanasia, but only to those with physical illnesses. This meant that he wasn't eligible to receive euthanasia despite suffering from pain daily, mental and physically. Um, he viewed this law as discriminatory and started a campaign to expand the law. Unfortunately, however, the Canadian government was not showing any signs of expanding it, which led him to end his own life um, on his own and not with the assistance of a doctor. From another article I read, it was a New York Times guest essay. Professor Clancy Martin talked about how he has lived most of his life with multiple mental illnesses, and he believes that MAID should be expanded because it will encourage those suffering from mental illness to reconsider their options. He states that if patients struggling with mental illness had the option to receive euthanasia, they would have to go through multiple steps. These steps include consulting with numerous behavioral health specialists, and that during these consultations, the patient is exposed to different types of treatments. Having this exposure may lead the patient to rethink the desire to die. So, after hearing those two articles, does that change your mind at all? And if not, or if yes, like, what do you have to say about them?
I think they bring up good points in both of them. So like I understand where they're coming from, but at the same time, it doesn't change my mind only because I feel like that there are so many other options that those that could be offered, and I think that there are just many other things that we can do instead of resorting to euthanasia.
Okay. So, it didn't change your mind at all?
No, it did not change my mind.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So, after hearing my friends' opinions on expanding MAID, I think that I agree more with Audrielle. I feel that Canada should extend MAID because I also think that it is like discriminatory to only give it to people suffering from a certain type of illness. And I think that extending it will allow those suffering the same amount of pain as someone with a physical illness. It will allow them to die with dignity and in a peaceful way, surrounded by their family.